And now, Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks.
What's up, everybody? DJ Bucky back here with Move the Sticks. And, Buck, we got a loaded episode today. First of all, I got to say, I own that exact same shirt, and I'm glad I didn't wear it today.
I mean, we could have been twins.
We could have unied it up a little bit. It would have been a bad look. Would have been a very bad look.
We're not supposed to wear white on TV anyway.
That's all right. You pulled it off. I'm going to go through what we have coming up on today's episode, Buck. We got a jam-packed show. We've been doing this Perfect Pairings, and for those that haven't checked it out, what we do is we try and take two players, the first and second round pick for these teams, and try and say, okay, who would be a great fit for them? So we call it Perfect Pairs. I believe we've gone through pretty much the whole league, and is this our last one back there, guys? This is our last one. So if your team that you root for, you care about, is not on today's episode, we've already done it. Look it up on YouTube. But today we're doing NFC, AFC West, Perfect Pairings, Buck. We're going to go through some mid-round gems. It seems like every year with our draft coverage, we talk about the top-tier guys. Then we talk about the sleepers.
The bottom guys.
But the good players, all the meat of the draft, they're those middle round guys. So we're going to hit on a couple of those today. And then we're going to look at some trades. Let's make a deal, some hypothetical trades.
We get to play kind of like fantasy GM.
Yeah, look, my thing on trades, and we'll get to it in a little bit later, but I just like to say, okay, it's interesting. Would you do it? You know, here's a proposal. Would you do it? We'll ask that question as we get a little bit later on down the show. But let's jump in here. NFC West, Bucky, you're going to start us off. The 49ers, picks number 7 and pick 37. This is a team finished 5-11 last year. They need some help. Help them out.
I am going to try and find them two blue-chip players. This is a dream scenario. I don't know if this top guy, Miles Jack, is going to be available at number 7. But let's just say it breaks for them, and they have an opportunity to get a guy to me, is a perfect pairing with Navarro Bowman. Navarro Bowman is the rock on the interior of their defense. When they had Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis, they were able to really dominate people from inside out. I'm saying that if they're there, Chip Kelly has a great understanding of who Miles Jack is. He obviously was in the recruiting process when Miles Jack was coming out, so he knows a little bit about the background. We've seen what he does on tape. I believe you put him in the center of their defense, they're ready to rock. And then in the second round, Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd is an intriguing playmaker from Pittsburgh, a guy who may be a little undervalued based on the explosive numbers and measurables, but when you look at how he plays, he has all the stuff that you look for as a guy that could eventually ascend first as a number 2 receiver and maybe eventually anchors the passing game as a number 1 receiver. I think he'd be a great fit for San Francisco, particularly with Anquan Boldin no longer being in the mix.
By the way, I had to leave early today, but did you end up knocking out Tyler Boyd?
I did talk to Tyler Boyd, and he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder from way, way, way back. Old school, high school guy. He let it go. But it was good. It was insightful. He has some good things to say on tape.
You can check that out, by the way, on our Move the Sticks 360 series. That'll be up, I'm sure, in the next week or so. Bucky's conversation with Tyler Boyd. All right, the Rams. And, again, I got to get used to this. The L.A. Rams, not the St. Louis Rams. Pick 15, pick 43, Bucky. I'm going to go 15. I'm going to go Laquan Treadwell. Give him a big wide receiver, okay, a true number 1 type wide out that can work in the middle of the field, give him some size, can be physical in there. He's reliable. I think he'll be nice to team up with a guy like a Tavon Austin. He can move around and can do some gadget things. This is just a pure physical wide receiver that I think would give them a number 1 target there in the passing game. And then coming back in pick number 43, second round, if they don't go quarterback at 15, they got to come back with a quarterback at 43, and that's where I have Connor Cook out of Michigan State going to the Rams. I think he'd be a good fit here. Somebody, obviously, the pro-style experience. I think he's ready to play right away with this team and the supporting cast they'd have around him, especially with Todd Gurley in the backfield and now a Treadwell out wide. I think Connor Cook, if he were to get there at 43, would be a great pick for the Rams.
I think he'd be a really good pick. I think it's a good fit because he plays in an offense at Michigan State that is very similar, where he wasn't necessarily the playmaker. He had to play more of a game manager role. I think it'd be a great fit in LA if he's there.
All right, this team did not win the division last year, Bucky, coming off a couple Super Bowl appearances. The Seattle Seahawks, pick 26, pick 56.
One thing we know, they are always in contention. Their defense has always been able to carry the load. Shifting a little bit offensively, I think there's some things that we can do in the draft to help them. At 26, I'm going to go with Robert Kimdichie, defensive tackle extraordinaire. In that system, you talk about a hybrid defense that moves around and plays a number of players on the front line. I believe in Kimdichie is a nice fit. Athletic, talented, a guy that flashes disruptive potential. Hasn't necessarily done it consistently throughout his time at Ole Miss, but I just kind of believe there's something in the water up there that will kind of get him going strong. Locker room, a lot of alpha dogs in there. I think you can get him going in the right direction. Pete Carroll loves to take chances on on those kind of guys, I think he'd be a great fit. And then in 56 in the second round, I understand their problems at offensive tackle, so I'm going to give them a long, rangy guy in LaRaven Clark from Texas Tech. Length, you can put him in at left tackle. He has the long arms to kind of stalemate some of those elite rushers on the edge. And I know there's some issues with him necessarily as a run blocker. Can he get pushed? Can he do some of the things? Can he handle some of the finesse players on the edges? But I just like that fit, and I know they're desperately in need of a tackle. I'm going to give him there because I think he should be there and available at 56.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's going to be there at 56, Bucky. And I don't have him in my top 50. So I'm not the biggest LaRaven Clark fan, but I do recognize his traits with the length and the quickness and all that. His pro day, I guess, was unbelievable. And I talked to a bunch of people around the league, and what I'm getting back is be more surprised if he goes in the third round than if he goes in the first round.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, all right. Well, I said, he's going to go in the top of the second round at worst case scenario.
Top of the second round. And if you really look at it, they're the big four at offensive tackle. The guys that we always talk about, the Deckers, the Conklins, Stanley, and then Tunsil. And then after that, it's kind of a hodgepodge of what you like. And then you talk about traits. And so if you look at the physical traits, long arms, the size, those things, like some people believe that they can teach them to short set and maybe stalemate guys, and then depending on what system he goes to, the ball can come out before he can be a problem.
Yeah, he's got some freakish length there. All right, team that won the division, though, the Arizona Cardinals. They picked 29 and 92. Remember, they got no second-round pick because of the Chandler Jones trade, which I think, by the way, is a heck of a second-round pick.
Great pick for them.
So at pick number 29, this team has invested in the offensive line recently, and I think they go back and double down here. Ryan Kelly, center from Alabama, who I think is the best center prospect in the entire draft, somebody that can come in right away, day one, start, stabilize the interior of that offensive line. You've got Iapati next to him, and they went out and signed I forget it. Why do I forget?
Evan Mathis.
Evan Mathis. I forget his name every single time. I was with him in Philadelphia. Evan Mathis there as well. So I think they really, really take care of the guts of their offensive line with this pick. I'm a big fan of Ryan Kelly. Then come back in the third round, and this is, look, the ultimate wild card pick in this draft.
Yes.
Cardale Jones. So you want a big arm passer. I know they tried it with Logan Thomas. It did not work out. Cardale's a better passer than Logan Thomas is. And I think in round number 3, big, physical, can push the ball vertically down the field like Arians likes to do. I think you've got a nice project to work with. Hopefully you get Carson Palmer a couple more years and you give Cardale time to develop. I think it might be worth the risk there.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's a great pick. I think it's a great value. And I really can't understand a lot of the maybe criticism with Cardale Jones maybe falling to the 6th round, because when you look at the talent, there's a lot of talent there, all the traits that you look for at the quarterback position, a lot of things work. And then he's undefeated. Like, say what you want to about what happened at Ohio State. He was 11-0 when he took snaps as a starting quarterback. And so I think there's some value in that. Is he a polished player? No, but I certainly would be willing to take a third-round pick on him and see if I could get something out of him.
All right, that's the NFC West. Let's move on now to the AFC West, Bucky. San Diego Chargers, you're up first. Pick number 3, pick number 35.
You know, if I'm the San Diego Chargers, right now, it's honest. We have to win right now. I need players that can come in and give us immediate contributions. I'm going to go with Jalen Ramsey with the 3rd overall pick. I'm assuming that those other guys off the board, Larry Tunsil's gone, a quarterback is gone, so Jalen Ramsey is sitting right there. You lose Eric Weddle, who was a great legendary Charger for them, a guy that made a ton of plays. I want someone in the middle of the field that can kind of play that role. He can be the traffic cop, he can be the tempo setter, he can make plays, and what we've seen from Jalen Ramsey leads us to believe that he certainly can be a Swiss Army knife in the back end. I'm putting him in as my starting safety and allowing him to roam and make plays and help that defense. Then I'm coming back in the top of the 2nd round, and I'm going to go get Vernon Butler. They need to continue to add to that rotation on the inside. Vernon Butler is very athletic. He can play on the edge. He has the size to also hold the point. I really like him. I think he's kind of undervalued in this deep and talented draft class. We don't spend a lot of time talking about him, but he could emerge as one of the better prospects in this draft.
You can move him up and down the line of scrimmage too, so I think some versatility there would be a big coup there for the San Diego Chargers. I'm looking at the Raiders here, Bucky. And, man, I can't help think, pick number 14 and pick 44. Could these two players be the guys that get the Oakland Raiders back in the postseason? Because the roster they have, what they've done there in free agency, and now you add in, if they get these top 2 guys right, I think that does give them a legitimate shot to get back in the postseason. So it's perfect pairs. I'm going to go in an ideal scenario. I'm going to say Ezekiel Elliott falls in their lap at pick number 14. I mean, that would be an absolute steal for this football team.
Love the pick. Yeah.
I love Latavius Murray. He's a nice player. I should say I like Latavius Murray, but I love Ezekiel Elliott. He gives you so much more in the passing game. His ability not only to go out and catch the football, but to help in pass protection. And he's got the ability to hit those hard yards inside, but then also get you with a home run as well.
I think it's an upgrade. And I know I'm saying that fully aware that Latavius Murray was a Pro Bowl player, but I think Ezekiel Elliott is special. His ability to make plays inside and outside and in the passing game will certainly give them a talented set of skill players. I like that pick.
All right, then they come back at 44, and they go with a tackle here in Jason Spriggs. And look, Jason Spriggs tested extremely well. He's got very quick feet. He's not a great bender. He's not a polished player, but you've got quick feet. You've got somebody that has some experience. He's got a lot to work with, Bucky. It's not put together yet, and therefore I don't have him in my top 50, but I do think at pick 44, this could have a nice long-term payoff for this football team.
Could have a nice long-term payoff, and when you look at the Oakland Raiders roster, you can see the talent that they have with all their young players. As you're trying to put the foundation of that team together, he is someone who could certainly come in. Maybe you put him at right tackle. You already have Donald Penn in place. Maybe eventually you can shift over to left tackle. Who knows? But if you have Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper and Derek Carr and Crabtree and some of the other young guys that they've assembled on offense to go at that defense that looks like it could be a formidable force, I believe the Raiders would be in play as one of those teams that's a postseason contender.
All right, you got the Kansas City Chiefs, pick 28, pick 59.
The thing about the Kansas City Chiefs is they went on their run. After starting out 1-5, they go into the playoffs to get a playoff win, and they can continue to build upon that momentum by fortifying what I think their strengths are. They need to find a cornerback because you lose Sean Smith, someone that can go with Marcus Peters. How about Eli Apple at the bottom of the first round? Eli Apple is long. He's versatile. He has the ability to do some of the things that we saw from Marcus Peters and being able to press, to play off, to play man or zone. Gives Bob Sutton a lot of flexibility in the back end. And I know it's scary to think about, I'm going to have two young players on the corner, but because their defense is so simplistic, I think they should have the opportunity to get on the field right away and have success. And after Eli Apple, I'm going to come and say that we need to make sure we back up and fortify our outside linebacker position.
Justin Houston with the injury.
Justin Houston with the injury. Tamba Ali getting older. I know we have D Ford ready to rock as a rotational player that can step up and fill it. But how about Kyler Fackrell coming in and being one of those guys that can kind of jump in and be a package player? Andy Reid did some of these things when he had Connor Barwin at Philadelphia, a versatile player, a nice athlete. I see Kyler Fackrell in a similar vein. You add him to the rotation, you are now adding enough weaponry on that side, enough ammunition for Bob Sutton to really come after people in the AFC West.
Fackrell, really athletic. You can drop him in coverage, do a lot of things with him, Bucky. A finesse rusher, not gonna bull you, not gonna overpower you, but somebody that I like because his ability to really bend and wrap around the edge. I think that'd be a good pair there for the Chiefs. Broncos, Super Bowl champs, pick 31, pick 63. Let's go 31. Let's go offensive line here with Jermaine Ifedi. And this is somebody at A&M. I think he can play right tackle. At worst case scenario, I think you've got a really, really good guard. He's played inside and outside. Just a massive, massive man. Can move some people in the run game. Not asked to do it a ton, but I think he projects to be a really, really good run blocker at the next level. Has some stiffness. Not a great athlete, but somebody I think could hold up at right tackle. And like I said, you got a nice fallback there to go inside at guard. And then we go to pick number 63. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. The Broncos, we know about some of the losses they've had up front. Let's plug in Adolphus Washington from Ohio State. This, to me, Adolphus Washington is going to be a value pick because of the depth of the position. There's so much talent at the defensive tackle spot. You're going to get somebody that's disruptive, that can get after the quarterback here in the second round, that historically probably is going to go late one or at worst early two.
I like both picks. The thing that I have to ask you is because Broncos fans are going to hear this and see this, and they're going to be, what about our quarterback? What are we doing at the quarterback position? Are we confident that Mark Sanchez can be the guy to get us back to the Super Bowl? Because in saying that, unless there's a mysterious trade that we're missing that we haven't discussed, you've neglected the quarterbacks.
Well, we'll see what happens. There's still some time left for that to get itself worked out. I do think, though, when you look at where they're picking, if they don't pick one at 31, I don't think there's one available at 63 that will beat out Mark Sanchez. And so from that standpoint, you say, okay, we can get a developmental guy in round 3 or round 4 because who we pick at 63 is not going to play anyway.
Correct.
So it'll be interesting to see what the Denver Broncos do, and there's still a little bit of time, a couple names still out there. We'll see what they do in free agency, Buck. Let's move on now to our mid-round gems, Bucky. And before we do that, though, if you've missed any of these perfect pairs, we've got the whole league covered now. So just go to NFL.com or YouTube, and you can find those videos. We've got all 32 teams covered. Even the Patriots, no first-round pick. We gave them their 2 twos. Mid-round gems, Bucky. Some of our favorite guys. We're talking rounds 3, probably 3 through 6, somewhere in that area. Give me 3 guys. I'll let you go first here. Let's ping pong back and forth. You got it.
Okay, so I'm gonna go all 3 guys. I'm gonna go one.
Let's go one at a time.
Okay, so I'm gonna go Sharon Peak from Clemson.
Okay.
Now, anyone who's been paying attention to what we've been doing of late would say that I have a love affair with Clemson guys because I've talked about them so much over the spring. But this is a guy that I certainly believe could be a nice gem in that 3rd to 4th round range. He's long, he's rangy, he ran really well at the combine in the 4.4 range. Gives you the size that you look for on the perimeter. And the success of Clemson receivers would lead me to believe that you go back to the well again. We saw Martavis Bryant come from kind of obscure beginnings and become a guy that was a dominant player in the league. We've seen Sammy Watkins and some of the other players, DeAndre Hopkins, have success. So I'm willing to bank on this guy, Sharon Peak, coming in, earning a role as a number 3 receiver, and eventually becoming a nice starter in the league.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites as well, Bucky. I love him. He's so tough and so physical after the catch. One of my favorite players as well. But you remember, I remember Bucky in Sunday school. I remember we used to sing, Pharaoh, Pharaoh, oh, Pharaoh, let my people go. Yeah, that's taking you back to Sunday school there. I'm going to go Pharaoh Cooper from South Carolina, wide receiver, is one of my favorite mid-round gems. And this is another one. I use the word toughness when you're talking about Sharon Peak. I use the same word to describe Pharaoh Cooper. Somebody that inside can do the dirty work. You see him here go up and finish. He wins a lot of those contested balls. And then when you get down in the red zone, he can separate and get some quick separation underneath. He's not going to wow you with a 40 time. That's not really his deal, but he's play speed. In that vein, he's similar to an Anquan Bolden because of the toughness and because they play a lot faster than they time.
And also, he gives you some versatility. We've seen him in college line up in the Wildcat and do some things with the ball in his hands. Creative offensive coordinators like guys that have versatility like that. He's a good pick. I think he enhances your return game. When you're in the mid-rounds, you talk about day 2, top of day 3, that is what you look for. You look for guys that can kind of affect the game in multiple ways.
Do you remember the song, Sunday School?
Vaguely.
We didn't go to the same Sunday school.
Vaguely.
Okay. All right, move on.
Vaguely.
Move on.
I'm going to go with a mid-round gem. How about Cyrus Jones from Alabama? Now, I know a lot of people know about him because he's been on the big stage. He made plays on the big stage for Alabama. 4 punt return touchdowns. A guy that has played corner the last couple of years and really done a good job of improving steadily. Competitive, fights for the ball at the highest point, does a great job of just kind of being in the right place at the right time. I'm saying you take him as a mid-round pick. He comes in as a nickel or dime defender, but eventually becomes a guy that can stay on the field 70-75% of the time because he can do a little bit of everything. And at worst, if he fails at corner, I know we have a standout punt returner that is going to give you contributions. I'm looking for guys that can get me 10 to 12 yards of punt return. I believe in the right system and setup, he certainly can do that as a special teamer.
One thing I'm looking down here, Peak tough, Pharaoh Cooper tough, Cyrus Jones tough. We're kind of seeing what we like in these mid-round players. Guys are going to end up being better than where they're selected. That toughness is a big part of it.
Toughness is a huge part of it. Obviously, you talked about how in Baltimore what you look for. When I was at Carolina, we wanted smart, tough, fast football players, guys that had a little grit to them. All of these guys that end up making teams from that mid to later round range, they all have to have a level of toughness because they're asked to do a lot to make contributions as backups.
All right, let's go offensive lineman here. Joe Thuney from NC State, a player that I really like when I first watch him, Bucky, and it hadn't been much buzz about him. You're starting to hear a little bit more and talking to people around the league. Again, somebody I would take him in the 3rd round. Maybe you end up getting him in the 4th round. We started a lot of football games there at NC State, and somebody that I think has the versatility to play outside. You can play him inside. He's gone up against a lot of the top players in this draft class, done a nice job. Just a really, really competitive kid. I think he's got a chance to start right away, and I think he's going to be a great value pick in that 3rd, 4th round range.
You know, that's a good range, especially when you're looking for interior linemen. That's where they go. You find those guys in their range. They play for a long time. You plug them in. They understand the scheme. They're physical enough. He's tough. Played in a very, very good conference. Did a good job for them. I agree with you. Even in looking at that little snippet there at the combine, his footwork, his lateral movement, you can tell that he is a guy that can understand how to play in that phone booth and have success.
All right, give me another one here, Buck. You want to go running back?
I'm going to go C.J. Prosise from Notre Dame. And he's kind of up and down. Some people like him. Some people have him pegged as their sleeper. But I like his versatility. I like the background.
Let's go multifaceted.
I like the background. Wide receiver, turn running back, a guy that can give you big-time impact and potential and production in the passing game, but is also tough enough to do some of those runs you want to say inside and outside, off tackle. They used to the toss sweep. And when you look at Theo Reddick had success going to Detroit, kind of carving out a role, I believe he's a more talented runner than Theo, but also brings the same value as a receiver. I really, really like him, and I think in the third round, someone is going to be excited because he can be one of those players that kind of gives you that Matt Forte-like impact. I'm not saying he's Matt Forte, but I can see him kind of growing into a Matt Forte role.
My comp was David Johnson. Now, David Johnson had an unbelievable rookie year. Hopefully, C.J. Prosise lands in a good spot and can be that productive. That's a lot of touchdowns he put on the board last year. But, again, former wide receivers can catch the ball out of the backfield, got that size and handle it really, really well. We'll see how he does. I'm a big fan of Prosise. I put him probably in that late 2, early 3 round range. I think could go as high as late 2. I don't think he'll get out of the third round. I'm going to go smaller school, Samford, James Bradbury, a corner. You talk about somebody that's big, that's long, and that's physical. Hasn't got it all figured out yet, Bucky, from an instinct standpoint. But I do think he's one of those guys. You talk about coming nose to nose, just let a guy press and let him go. I think he can do that, and he can locate the football down the field. He's somebody I think, again, it's a premium position. So you put a grade on him. I love to get him in that 4th, 5th round area, but who knows? Because of the size and speed combination that he has, maybe he does land in the 3rd round. But somebody I would definitely be targeting round 4, round 5. I'm a big fan of James Bradbury.
Good player. He has the requisite physical dimensions that you look for. Very competitive. The game isn't too big for him when he goes against elite competition. In those rounds, you talk about the borderline day 2, day 3. He has the stuff that you look for, and there's always going to be a run on corners. You're always looking for that hidden gem. He certainly can be there. We saw Pierre Darcier go in the 3rd round a couple years ago, so why not for a guy like James Bradbury?
All right, there we have. There's some mid-round gems. I got a bunch of other names eventually we'll get to. Maybe on Wednesday's podcast, which, by the way, is our 100th audio podcast.
How about
coming up
celebration?
A little mini celebration there, but we'll get through some more names. I like in the audio podcast we can just throw out a bunch of new names to introduce the folks at home to some new guys, Bucky. But we touched on it a little bit earlier. The 360 series that we've done, we've had so many fun guys come through there. I know we've got Moritz Boehringer, the German wide receiver, is coming in here. So we're going to get him, and that's going to be a fun video. You need to be on the lookout for that as well as some other videos. I think we're putting out the Laquan Treadwell video. He came right in studio here. We had a great chat with him. Really had a chance to hear about what went into his rehab, which is a fascinating story. So there's lots of good stuff there. Be sure to check that out. You can check it out on our YouTube channel, the NFL channel. Just pump in Move the Sticks. You can see all these videos. All right, Bucky, you want to make a deal?
Yeah, let's make a deal.
All right, let's make a deal here. This is just some trade ideas. This is just sitting at home.
This is Wayne Brady's show, right? Is this Wayne Brady's show?
Yeah, this is not the older version. not the older version.
Wayne Brady. All right, we get to make a deal.
So, and this is one of those things that I'll do this when I'm talking to friends on the phone around the league, and it's not steeped in any information. It's just a question. So, I'll pose you the question and just see if you'd make this deal, okay?
All right, here we go.
You're the Tennessee Titans. You pick number 1. You get a call from Howie Roseman, the Philadelphia Eagles, and they say, here's the deal. We know, you already have a left tackle, Taylor Lewan. Mm-hmm. Why don't you slide back to our pick number 8, and we're going to give you Fletcher Cox, one of the best defensive linemen in the National Football League,
Pro Bowl
for
caliber
us to
player.
come up to number 1. Would you do that? Would you make that move?
That is a nice deal. That's a pretty nice deal. Helps my defense down the middle.
He's in the last year. He needs a new contract. He's in the last year of his deal, I believe.
Oh, I'm sure he wants to get.
Can we get some research on that? Hytham, can you double up his research back there?
I'm sure he wants to get
on
paid.
His contract.
But I'm strong down the middle. He helps me in my defense.
Plus, you got the 8th pick.
I get the 8th pick, so I still, if I really need a tackle, I could still get a tackle potentially. I still could get Ronnie Stanley, and maybe I move Ronnie Stanley to right tackle with Taylor Lewan, whatever. That's some versatility. That's not a bad pick. That's something that you certainly have to entertain. You got to throw that out amongst the scouts and kind of have the conversation.
All right, Bucky, we're on the phone right now. I'm playing the role of the Eagles. You're playing the role that you're John Robinson with the Titans. We got to turn in the card. Do we have a deal or no?
If I'm John Robinson of the Titans, I have to say no.
You turn it down, Fletcher Cox?
I'm turning it down. I'm turning.
Wow.
I'm turning.
Anything I can do to sweeten it?
No, because I think I am that in love with Larry Tunsil. Because if it's all about my quarterback, like
How many games has Taylor Lewan played at right tackle, Bucky?
I don't know, but he'll start. The clock is starting.
But I can tell you where he's going to start.
Yeah,
He's going to line up day one.
I know where he'll have his first game this fall. He'll be at right tackle. I'm going to take Larry Tunsil. I'm going to make sure that my quarterback is protected. I like Fletcher Cox, but I don't know if I can bypass the opportunity to get a franchise tackle surrounding my quarterback, because everything we've done, every move we've made is with the quarterback in mind. I don't know if this helps.
Jarrell Casey lined up next to Fletcher Cox.
I mean, that's nice. That's nice.
Whew.
That's nice. But remember, you told me that this is the deepest and most talented defensive tackle class.
There are a lot of
that we've
DTs.
seen. So maybe I can come back in the second round and get something that is comparable to Fletcher Cox.
Look, I put the line in the water. I want to see if the fish were biting.
Well, but
Not
I mean,
so much.
But since we're the Eagles and we're active trade participants, I'm going to put on my Howie Roseman hat.
Okay.
I'm gonna take on the trade, but first I'm gonna be Les Snead and Jeff Fisher. And I'm gonna
you don't get to be both parties here.
I can. Okay, so if I'm
killing the game, dude.
If I'm Jeff Fisher and I have the opportunity to look around, I said, I know Howie and those guys want to kind of go back in time. They want to go back to what it was. I'm gonna say, Howie, look, I got a guy here that you're very familiar with in Nick Foles.
You gonna trade Nick Foles back to Philly?
Nick Foles had a lot of success. 27-2. He was a good player.
Chip.
Yeah, but good player. Right there, you saw him. You know what he is, and you know what the young fella's like. I'm willing to trade you Nick Foles, the 15th pick, a second-round pick, just so I can move up to pick number 8.
So Foles, pick 15 and a 2.
Yeah. That's pretty sweet.
To go up to 8.
And I know you don't have it. I know you don't have it too.
Can I make a counter offer?
I know you don't have it too.
I'm gonna make a counter offer. I like getting that 2 back.
Yeah.
I like getting the 2.
I'm not taking Sam Bradford.
I don't know. I'm not giving you Sam Bradford.
I don't want him back.
I don't want Nick Foles. So this is what I'm doing. I want you giving me 15. You're gonna give me a 2.
Yeah.
How about you go ahead? You keep Nick Foles. Okay. You hold on to Nick.
He looks
for
good.
a rainy day.
He looks good.
And then I'm gonna instead ask for a 4.
Ask for what?
A 4.
A 4th-round pick?
Yeah.
So I'm giving you 3 picks.
You're going from 15 to 8.
I'll give you 3 picks. Wow.
15 to 8. I'm not asking for anything next
4.
year. I'm not hitting you up for anything next year.
No.
Here's the deal. I'll give you 2 options. You get, we want pick 15, a 2, and a 4 this year, okay? Or we want pick 15, a 2 this year, and a 3 next year.
You one of those guys.
What is that?
Nah, you one of those guys. The round value always goes
Oh, it goes up a
around
round. It's a year. It's the next year.
Yeah, no.
Next year's pick.
What am I going to do with Nick Foles? I have quarterbacks.
You can do whatever you want with him. I don't want him.
Quarterbacks on my roster.
I'm good.
You need a quarterback.
I'm good. We got Sam. We got Chase.
You don't feel good about that, though.
I'm good. I'm good on Nick. I like Nick. I think Nick. Look, I think you're giving up on Nick too early there, man.
I just know how much success he had, and I know you guys want to go back to yesteryear. So
yeah, but that wasn't with Doug Peterson.
Yeah, but Nick Foles was drafted. He was drafted.
Well, I will say this. Truth be told, Coach Peterson loved Nick when we drafted him.
Let's dangle him.
He did love him when we drafted him.
Come on, that's a good pick. You have to go for that.
So you gonna take my counter?
No, I can't. That's too much. I
can't make a deal. This whole segment was let's make a deal. We can't make a deal.
We had a deal made. If you just take Nick Foles.
Fine. If you give me a 15, a 2, give me a 15 and your second, and let me see who else you got over there. Anybody else I want from the Rams?
Let's see what I'm trying to figure out what you guys need.
No, I'm just gonna. You know
I can
what?
throw in Roger Saffold.
15 and a 2.
I can throw in Roger Saffold. How about that? Someone to help you.
I'm good. I might even. I'd consider it for a 15 and a 2. I'll let you.
That's 2 sweet picks. You don't have a 2.
We don't have a 2, so we have 2
so
3s.
You get to fall back. You get to fall back to 15. And if your quarterback, I don't know if you want a quarterback.
Here's the deal. This is it. This is our final deal. I know they want us to wrap up here. I'm going to get pick 15, your second round pick. You're going to give me your 4th round pick, but I'm going to give you my 5. So I just upgraded from a 5 to a 4. Let's make a deal. Come on.
I think we may be able to make it.
We got that done? Okay.
We got that done.
There's a trade.
I still feel kind of sleazy about that because I gave it another pick.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up for us. That was a very complicated, complex deal, but we did pull it off. Daniel Jeremiah here, Bucky Brooks there. Appreciate you guys checking us out. Be sure to check out our Move the Sticks 360 series, as well as catch up on all the other videos we've got. YouTube, NFL.com/podcasts, and you can listen to them on iTunes. Thanks.
Thanks for downloading Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks. For more, go to NFL.com/podcasts.